I'm Christopher, and I am not a werewolf.
I'm Dennis, and I am not a werewolf.
My name is Julia, and I am not a werewolf.
Hi, I'm Matt, and
I think one of them was lying. Today, games about bluffing and hidden information on the Gameshelf. Hello and welcome to the Gameshelf, coming to you from the secret moonlit gaming grotto in historic Union Square in beautiful Somerville, Massachusetts. I am J-Mac.
And I'm Joe.
And today we're going to be talking about games with hidden roles, secret information, and deception. I first wish to acknowledge that this is the start of our second season. We took a break through last year. You may have noticed we have an excellent new theme song composed by Joe himself.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I'd like to get right into the games. The first game we're going to talk about is Citadels. Hello. Citadels is a game by the designer, I'm probably going to get his name wrong, Bruno Faiduti, released in Germany in 2000 and currently published in the United States by Fantasy Flight Games. The basic game here being played by, Julia, Matt, Joe, Eric, Carl, and yours truly is actually quite simple. It casts the players as rulers of cities in some medieval-ish land, and they race to develop the most impressive and powerful districts. Components of the game include a pool of pretty plastic gold pieces and a deck of district cards, each depicting a potential construction project and its cost in gold to build. On each turn, a player may either draw 2 gold from the bank or draw a card from the stock, and then they have the option to pay a card's cost in gold in order to play that card in front of them. This represents building that district in their principality, and the game ends as soon as someone lays down 8 cards. That's it. What really defines the game, though, is the concept of roles. Separate from the district deck is a character deck that's only 8 cards deep. Each card depicts a different profession and grants a special power or 2 to the player holding it. At the start of every round, the players pass this deck around the table, picking a role card to hold. Their choice is, at first, secret. Each role has a number assigned to it, 1 through 8, and this determines the turn order during the round. One by one, each role is called out, and then the player holding it reveals their character card and takes their turn. The game is given a nasty edge by the fact that the first couple of roles in every turn have powers that exist only to hinder other players. The first of these is role number 1, the assassin, who tries to force another player to lose their turn. This nasty ability is balanced by the fact that the assassin player can't just name another player, they can only name a role. So, if they want to target a specific player, that player has to guess which role their target chose this round. The thief is like the assassin, except that instead of knocking a player out, they try to swipe all their gold. If the thief guesses well, the unlucky player has to surrender their whole pile to the thief at the start of their own turn.
No. Thief. Who you stealing from?
I am going to steal from... God, who are they? I'm going to steal from the merchant.
Yep, how about merchant?
You know, what the heck? 3 turns in a row you guys have been picking on me?
I just needed money.
That was
Sorry.
good, that was a good call.
That was an excellent call. It's fine. I'm trying to figure out, should I wear a tinfoil hat? Is that my next when I play with you guys?
It's the stripes. You
Yeah.
wore stripes.
I guess so.
These are the 2 overtly meanest roles. After that comes the magician, who can swap cards with the deck or with other players, and then the king, who gets first pick of the roll cards at the start of the next round. The king, incidentally, also gets to call out the roles, and that's kind of fun in its own way. Then we have the bishop, whose districts are indestructible, the merchant, who takes bonus gold, the architect, who gets bonus cards, and can, if they can afford it, build multiple districts in one turn. Finally, there's the warlord, who can pay gold to destroy other people's districts, though he can't touch the bishops.
So, Warlord,
It's pretty plain
Julia?
shirt there, architect.
Okay.
Was that?
It's pretty plain
How are you
shirt
going
there,
to aim
architect.
your violence
Why don't you,
today?
First, I'm going to build a prison
There's a juicy
for
temple.
2,
Nice.
and then I'm going to take 2. And yeah, just taking out that temple.
Oh, I
really-
feel like there's a vendetta going on here.
Shirley. It's the only 1.1 on the table that isn't mine.
Oh.
So it's the only one that doesn't cost me gold.
Nice.
It's not really nothing personal. The same way robbing the architect is nothing
Wow.
personal.
Julia. Oh yes, the warlord can also destroy the little wimpy 1-point districts for free. Them's the breaks. You saw Julia take some extra gold for herself there too. That's because each district has one of 5 colors associated with it, as do 4 of the roles. If you hold one of those roles, you get a bonus gold piece for each matching district you have. The Warlord gives you a bonus for red districts, for example. The 5th district color, purple, has no bonus roll, but they make up for it by giving you special abilities as if you can build them. The Laboratory, for example, lets you discard from your hand in exchange for gold, while the Great Wall makes it more expensive for the Warlord to trash your districts. When someone builds their 8th district, the game ends when that round is done. Everyone who managed to lay down 8 cards gets some bonus points, as does everyone who has all 5 colors of districts in their principality. Otherwise, the score is determined by the sum of the values in all your district cards, and the winner is the person with the most. So, Joe, we actually played this a couple of times. There was the in-studio shoot, which you were a part of,
Yes.
where several of us sat around the big round table there. And we also got to play a 2-player game that we didn't have any footage of, but in order to see that version of the game, which plays a lot differently.
Absolutely. The 2-player version held up remarkably well. Again, I was introduced to the larger version, and the game is very well suited for 5 to 7 players or whatever the number is. And I didn't expect it to scale down to 2 players very well.
Right. Well, of course, I want to say it's kind of a hack that they did, but instead of like adjusting the rules a little bit in order to make it okay, it's playable with 2 players. The game is actually completely different in that both players get 2 rolls apiece. That's also the same case in the 3-player game, and that's pretty interesting too. In that the sort of the nastier element of the fact you can lose your entire turn if you get killed by the assassin, or you can have all your money stolen and mess up your entire turn and wait for a whole go around, is a lot different in the smaller version of the game, because you have 2 rolls. So if one of them gets killed, that you still have the other one going for it. Of course, you can get killed and stolen from in the same round as well.
Which, yes, unfortunately.
I should think happened to one of us. But so, what do you think of the game as far as elegance? Do you find it has too many rules, or it's just right?
I think it's a fascinating game. Obviously, I've played more complicated games, but I would say that there are a few of the nicety, the rules you're just talking about, where you can't build 2 of the same territory. It's a rule. It's easy to forget. There's nothing really. When you play the game, there's nothing about that would stand out that you made an error. So it would be nice, in a perfect world, there'd be some mechanism to say, oh, that move's legal. But that's quibbling. It's a pretty elegantly designed game. As you pointed out, the roles that you play are very well balanced against each other.
Yeah, and the basic game is very simple in that you're just trying to get 8 cards on your turn. You either get gold or you get cards, and you play a card if you can, and that's it. It's just the roles that add all the salt.
Yes.
And that's really brilliant. I mean, this has been one of my favorite card games for a couple of years now, actually. I'm always in the mood to play it. Either the 2-player, it makes a great 2-player game, or with a group. Though a lot of my friends don't like the game because it's the whole killing your friends element isn't their favorite.
Really, that ties in interestingly to the werewolf game, which we'll be reviewing later in the show, where you kill all of your friends if possible.
Let's get to that, actually. I feel like talking about werewolf.
Let's do.
All right. Excellent. Ah, yes, werewolf. Werewolf's a little different than other games we've featured so far. It's not a tabletop game, but rather a parlor or party game. You need at least 7 people to play, but it seems to work best with a dozen or so. The only components you need are a few cards that you can easily make yourself, though some publishers do offer nice versions with cool art that you can buy. Werewolf's rules were first published on the web in 1997 by our own Andrew Plotkin, who gracefully agreed to moderate our in-studio games. He based the rules on a game that came out of Russia in the 1980s called Mafia, invented by Dmitry Davidov. Legend tells us that Mafia got to be so popular in Eastern Europe that Latvia's national television channel had made a long-running game show out of it in the early 1990s. But that is not the legend of Werewolf. No. In Werewolf, players all take the roles of happy villagers in some nameless backwater happy village. Or at least they all say they're happy villagers. As dictated by cards that are randomly distributed before play and then kept secret by each player, the village also happens to house 2 hungry werewolves who have infiltrated the village in order to snack on its population. The gameplay alternates between 2 phases, night and day. At night, everyone closes their eyes and makes noise, hence all the leg slapping you see here, while the moderator directs the werewolves to open their eyes together and choose one of the poor villagers to eat up. The moderator then has the seer open his or her eyes and point at another player and be told with a thumbs up or thumbs down whether that player is actually a werewolf. All the noise is meant to cover up any sounds made by these players' gestures. The heart of the game, though, lay in the daytime phase. First, the werewolf's victim exits the game, leaving behind their roll card face up. Then the villagers argue among themselves over which of their number are lying about their identity. Mad for vengeance, their goal is to agree on one suspicious villager to lynch. There are no game mechanics here other than simple communication. Drawing on their own abilities of logic, diplomacy, charisma, and deceit, villagers will try to ferret out who the werewolves are, while the werewolves throw suspicion back onto the villagers. The seer observes all this, cautious about giving their privileged role away, lest they themselves become targeted by the werewolves after sunset. Players vote on who to lynch by pointing, and the phase ends as soon as a simple majority is reached, at which point the recipient of the villager's justice leaves the game, again revealing their secret role. If there are still werewolves afoot at this point, then night falls and the cycle begins again, only this time with fewer surviving players. Ultimately, the werewolves win the game if there are only as many living villagers as monsters. The villagers win if both werewolves get lynched, regardless of how many innocents they might have strung up before that. Let's watch some highlights of a couple of games that we played here in the studio. People tended to keep wandering in partway through the shoot, so the size of the village got larger between games, though we kept to the same formula of 2 werewolves and 1 seer.
Yeah, I still think you're a werewolf.
I'm a werewolf.
What is this?
You should kill me before I kill someone.
Okay, everybody.
Wow.
I didn't vote for him at all. No.
What happened? Is that
I
your
refuse
final
to
answer?
satisfy-
Is that your final answer? You could save the village.
I think
You could
6
save
people pointed
the
at you already.
village.
You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. Please place your card on the chair.
You're awful. I can't.
We killed the village idiot.
I think we're better off.
Daytime. I'm afraid, as your shirt indicates, you are only a bit player. You've been torn apart.
I was the seer.
Oh, we've lost our seer.
Okay.
See you later.
So, who was the first person to vote for Joe last round?
Was it Dennis?
Was it Dennis?
It was Dennis.
That sucks.
I think J-Mac pointed first, which makes me suspicious of him.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's,
No,
that's 4 people.
But we started with 9, and you
Yeah.
need a majority based on the original.
No, majority against you. I'm sorry. You've
Right.
been torn to
I'm afraid
pieces.
I'm a villager, guys. Again. Yeah.
If our villagers would stop acting like werewolves, we would do better.
And I'm afraid that you have been torn to pieces. Which brings it down to 2 werewolves and 3 villagers, so get it right this time. This is a game of information based on information based on information, and you do theoretically have information.
We know J-Max not.
I was going to say, we don't The seer advanced no theories.
Yeah, the seer dies. Because we're idiots.
For lack of a better idea, I'm tempted to say that it's Carl. But it's
Well, that's
just
because then we can just play another round if we lose.
yeah.
There's that. Sure. Wait a minute.
But if you're wrong, then
Carl, you have died. Sadly.
congratulations, you got another villager.
So we lose now, right?
Yeah, so now it's nighttime and the werewolves come out and the werewolves kill everybody.
Okay.
That really worked better than I thought it would. I said I'm a werewolf, what, 3 times?
Back then.
But he's
'Cause
doing
that's
that.
worked
I'm
so
being
well in
really
the
quiet
past.
because I'm a werewolf thing now.
You're a werewolf?
Oh, I see.
He's a werewolf. No.
No,
He was the first one to speak that phrase. That's as good a reason as any.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah, that would be it. I'm sorry.
Congratulations, you're dead.
lesson number 1: don't say I'm a werewolf.
Oh, wait.
You're all
I
right.
am
Yeah, you
not
can't say anything.
Julia, I'm sorry.
Excellent. I get to watch. You should take my spot.
Julia was a
man.
villager also.
I thought it was her.
The only information we have is that you're either not talkative enough or too talkative.
Yeah,
and that
both at the
makes me
same
think
time.
that you're the werewolf.
Which is probably both true then.
So we should kill you
So we
to
should-
be safe?
Yes.
I'm tired of your pointing.
Well, then you'll be
Oh,
dead soon, and you won't have to worry about it anymore.
Prove that you're not the werewolf trying to cover your own track record.
Matt hasn't said enough any of the recent ones.
And he's got a
Let's kill
wolf on his
him. You've actually been pretty quiet.
What? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, Matt, are you a werewolf?
Matt, that was
Jason,
That was 5.
yeah, do we have voting on Matt?
Yeah.
I
think it's wrong.
Oh.
Dang it.
This morning's victim is Carl.
Jesus.
Again?
I'm not Jesus.
Okay, so if whoever's a seer should at least start to give some hints of who's not, or because we're about to run out of people.
Are you sure the hints haven't been coming?
Not from you, dude.
Well, if I have. I completely have missed them.
I would say, so we kill him, and if he's the seer,
If he's the sealer, we go after you next.
that's reasonable.
Nice.
Wait, what?
Nice.
Is that going to work though? We're going to lose 2 people.
Yeah.
One,
Probably 2 villagers, and you'll now be down to just wolves.
It's true.
So, no,
know,
I'm
just gonna come
pointing.
talking to
I'm
my
tired of
friend.
getting accused of being this. I think you're the wolf, and
not the wolf.
I'm tired of this.
Figured out the seer.
all right, we're
Okay.
All right, I might have been the wolf.
Dennis, I'm afraid you've got torn apart. But there is only one werewolf left, so you actually have a fighting chance this time.
I thought he was
did,
a seer.
Huh?
Someone's the seer.
4 of us
I'm the
pointed.
seer and it's
I'm
him.
not the seer.
So, of the
other
5 of
guy
us, Ruth is the only person claiming to be the seer.
It's true.
And she's saying that Justin is the werewolf.
I'm inclined to believe her.
I am
Well,
too.
we can at least try.
Yeah.
You've been killed. You're
One thing I didn't mention in the monologue was that this game is enormously popular at game conventions, like Origins, which I go to every couple of years or so, especially around the Looney Labs room. You can always find crowds of any number of people. The game tends to play best with between 7 and 12 players, but you'll see crowds of 20 or so, sometimes playing werewolf. I mean, entire families, literally. Like the little kids who go to Origins to play Pokemon will see this game, love it, and they'll drag their parents in and force their parents to play. And the parents get into it, and everyone's lynching each other all night long until 2 a.m. It's a good time. This is and this is a game that lends itself well to conventions, or as oddly enough, as an icebreaker at parties, despite its rather harsh attitude about life.
Well, it's a game of suspicion and paranoia, and why wouldn't that play well at a party?
Why not? I mean, that's a good way to get to know people.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of strategies that sometimes work, sometimes don't, that I've employed. And one of them is establishing myself as an inveterate liar. In other words, anything that comes out of my mouth, I want people to automatically doubt. I think, as you said, it's a game of paranoia. So if you establish yourself as being a source of lies, then perhaps people feel like, well, in a strange way, they can trust you because he's always lying.
I don't understand. And you got killed pretty quickly the first time you pulled that out.
The first time, yeah. Well,
But you're
online,
kind of manic that first one.
The first one I made the other classic mistake. The quiet ones never get picked on.
Especially on the online version, because then no one's chatting and you kind of forget they're there.
Yes.
But even in the real life one.
In the real life one, talking makes you a target. There are sort of, once you open your mouth, you need to try to get somebody else to take the spotlight off of you, or else you will be, eventually people will nominate you to be lynched for no other reason that they know you're there.
You made a great save in the third game. I think a lot of people were pointing at you.
I can't believe I survived that.
You did eventually get killed in that, as we already saw, because that was the one where you were a werewolf. And the villagers actually managed to win against all odds.
Yeah.
Some of that I suspect is because Justin got bored, but that was a fun game, though. It's like I'm glad the villagers got to win one before we all had to go home.
I know that it was playing werewolf. It really doesn't give you a lot of confidence in democracy. I have to say that wasn't a good sign. If we expect the common, the mass of people to ferret out the truth, protect us from the villains. That was, but back to the game Werewolf. There are, of course, many expansion rules to Werewolf.
There are,
and many other characters besides villagers and seers and wolves.
The main three, yes.
The main three. And I was a little sad that we didn't actually get to explore some of those possibilities, but you do get to in the online.
Yep.
Game,
if you go to Zarf's page, which there's the URL for it, there are. How'd that happen? It's the power of the moonlit grotto, my friend. It has many secrets. Yes, there are many variants of the game that I haven't even begun to approach. Like there is, there's like a version where like lycanthropy is spreading, and instead of villagers being dragged away, there are villagers who are turning into werewolves, but they're staying in the game.
Oh yeah, that would have been interesting to try that one.
Yeah. So like the object is not to find out who's lying, but whose story has changed.
Oh, interesting.
Or who's acting differently.
Yeah.
Which I would like to try that sometime too.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a very different play experience.
One thing that's sort of one challenge to Werewolf is in the initial, what sort of questions do you ask? How do you define, if you're a villager, how do you actually try to ferret out the truth?
At the start, you have nothing.
You have nothing.
Except the seer knows something. So there is a seer in the group who has a piece of information, but it might be this, one of the 12 people is not a werewolf, and that's not very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, but even more than that, the way the game, of course, is set up, that if the seer is identified, the wolves will kill the seer on the next turn.
But on the other hand, if the seer can successfully convince everyone else, hey, I'm the seer, that person's a werewolf, they're going to eat me, you must lynch them now before it's too late.
Yes.
And then that reduces the werewolf population by 1, and that's...
So because the seer is in such a precarious position, it's incumbent on the other villagers to try to figure out a way to get that information out of the seer without the seer sort of ponying up this information and outing
And
themselves.
also the werewolves, if the seer does take that gambit, the werewolves can always say, you're not the seer, or wait a minute, I'm the seer, you liar.
Yeah, which is, I think there's plenty of examples of that in the clip of when you get accused, immediately turn the accusation on the accuser.
Yeah, which is something you were doing a lot, actually. And I think that's how you were surviving, was you're just throwing it back, and that everyone was really doubting that, which is great. That's hilarious. I love watching that.
I've watched a lot of Matlock. That's really where I get most of my strategy.
Because isn't like the first witness they bring out the person who did it?
Yes.
In Matlock. So that's a true life lesson that we can learn from Werewolf and Matlock.
Matlock also surprisingly good for dating tips. I'm just saying.
And now a shameless plug. I am the project manager of Volity, an open platform for multiplayer online games which you can find on the web at volity.net. Last year, we launched an online and real-time version of Werewolf, which I'm pleased to say is enormous fun, actually. It plays a lot differently than the face-to-face version, since all the conversation is based around a purely text chat environment, and the graphical interface with all of its shiny buttons and levers seems to make quick voting and quicker mind-changing a lot more tempting. The drawback is that you need to get a lot of people online together to play, like ordinary Werewolf, since this really isn't the sort of game that plays well with computerized opponents. But Volity does feature some scheduling tools that help make that possible. Volity's version also offers quite a few more roles than the 3 that are in the standard game. These include folks like warlocks, who are seers on the werewolf side, and slayers, who get to hunt the wolves at night. We also have an online version of Space Station Assault, by the way, which loyal viewers will recall as a feature of our second episode about a year and a half ago. Before we go, I would like to go over some news and updates regarding games and other information that we've talked about previously on this show. Joe, do you remember Star Control 2? We talked about it a couple of episodes ago.
Let me think.
I found myself up till 3 a.m. continuing to collect iron ore from, Cassiopeia because I really needed that second fusion blaster.
Well, there are support groups for that now. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. The game itself was also made a long time ago. As you may or may not recall, the game Star Control 2 was originally published in 1992, and it saw a revival a few years ago when it went open source. And as we covered it on our show, you can watch our show archives in order to see that entire clip. The saga of the Star Control franchise is rather like the story of the Highlander movies, in that after the very successful Star Controls 1 and 2, the creative control of the series was taken away from its original developers, the team known as Toys for Bob, and therefore Star Control 3 is generally considered to be not anywhere near as good, and the franchise has not seen any development since then. So Toys for Bob, as it now exists, it continues, it has gotten larger, it's still making games for consoles, is presently talking with Activision in order to convince them to fund a true sequel to Star Control 2. I'm not sure if they'd call it Star Control 3 because that's already been a game. But there is a petition online that you can go to at sc2.sourceforge.net/petition/petition.php, or you can just email Alex Ness at toysforbob.com. Mr. Ness is I believe he's the main producer over there at Toys for Bob. And basically you can just tell him how much you would like Activision to help make a new Star Control game. He is collecting all of this mail, and I suppose in some sort of Miracle on 34th Street courtroom scene like display, will then inundate all of these fan mails onto the front door of Activision, and maybe good things will happen from there.
Just like the original Star Trek series when it got canceled, or they attempted to cancel it the first time.
I was not aware that happened. I tried to do that with Twin Peaks a long time ago, and it didn't work.
I think you needed just more than you.
We tried to send donuts to CBS. I think it was CBS at the time, and it didn't work. The IF Comp, another interactive fiction competition, has come and gone. You can see the results at ifcomp.org. This is, of course, the annual competition for mostly text-based adventure games that are created by a hobbyist community that is dear to my heart. The winner was Float Point by Emily Short. It is a delightful science fiction game where you play a ambassador to an extraplanetary Earth colony where everyone floats. How do you feel about that, Joe? Would you like to go to another planet where everything floats? People float too.
I thought everyone floated here. I don't understand.
No, it's a technology. You wear like a float
device.
Like
Baron Harkonnen in Dune? Right,
except less gross. And I'd also like to offer my congratulations to our own Andrew Plotkin, who you remember from the Werewolf segment. His entry into the IF Comp Delightful Wallpaper came in 6th place.
Bravo.
Bravo, Mr. Zarf, as we like to call him, as the kids like to say. Your Move Games, a local company right here. They're a company that started in Somerville. You may recall when we featured their game Space Station Assault. In fact, in the same episode that had Star Control 2 in it. They won a Vanguard Unique Game Award at the 2005 Origins Awards for their new game Battleground Fantasy Warfare, which is a miniatures combat game except without miniatures and with cards instead of miniatures. So it's kind of like that Warhammer that you like so much, Joe.
I love the Warhammer.
Yeah, you like to play that every weekend.
I like to buy the books. And
you don't have the 2,000 point Skaven army down yet?
No, but I'm building it.
Awesome.
A couple of more loans, and I will have the full Monty.
Good luck with that. That's all for this episode of the Game Shelf. As always, you can visit our website in order to look at this or older episodes. You can subscribe to our podcast and get new episodes as we happen to put them up, downloaded right to your computer for free. And you can leave us feedback and all kinds of cool stuff, and that's at gameshelf.jmac.org.
And next time on the Game Shelf, we have the original Star Trek's William Shatner, Captain Kirk.
No.
Do we have Jerry Doyle from Babylon 5?
I don't. What do you?
I guess next time it'll just be J-Mac and I again.
That's okay, Joe. We'll always have the treat.